Welcome to Woman Means Business. I'm your host, Nontobeko Kumete. Now, retail is one of the most dynamic sectors in South Africa, employing millions and shaping the daily lives of communities across the country. However, the industry is also undergoing major transformation. Pick n Pay has a long history of promoting inclusivity and women's empowerment, focusing on both internal initiatives and broader community support. Joining me in studio to unpack these further and to share her journey is Katherine Madley, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Pick n Pay. Katherine, thank you very much for joining us.
It's such a pleasure and a joy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, your career spans 20 years in marketing, innovation, and strategy, and you've spearheaded various internal and external strategies with corporate clients in the advertorial space. Now, share what are the key lessons from your journey thus far, and how has that really inspired you to pursue this path?
I think I've been very fortunate. I'm one of those very few people that knew what I wanted to do at a very young age. But having said that, whenever I do speak to students, and I do speak to students quite regularly, because I'm an alumni of UJ, and they very kindly invite me to speak there quite often in the Faculty of Marketing. And I always say to people, it's okay if you divert your career into different directions. Very few people know exactly what they want to do at a young age, but I did. I understood. I learned about the 4 Ps of marketing when I was in grade 10, and I thought that's totally for me, and I pursued that career, in my whole career. So I've been in marketing the whole way, with some diversions into strategy and innovation, which really is part of marketing anyway. My career is really a tale of two sides. One is financial services, because I was in R&B for many years, and I was in Alexander Forbes. So I know that side of the business. I know banking, and I know insurance, pensions and investments. And then the other side is retail, is the buzz of retail. And I've spent many years in a few retailers, and I'm super excited to be the CMO of Pick n Pay.
Now, you are an expert in your field, and I'm sure you've noticed that retail is consistently evolving from digitalization to informal trade integration and so on and so forth. So how are these, different shifts are reshaping the sector from your perspective?
It's actually quite interesting, because I recently spoke about how external forces of transport being one, and how external forces of industrialization being 2 have shaped retail, and the shifts that retail has had over a few hundred years. So I actually went right back to the beginning, to see how retail has moved and shifted. And the big fundamental shifts of retail were in transport. When ships started moving goods around the world, and then trains and planes, and a lot of people started getting motor cars. And very recently, post-baby boomer, post-Second World War, there was a rapid amount of shifts that took place in transportation, which built mom-and-pop shops, moving into large format shops, moving into destination shops, large format malls, and then into the online space. 27 years ago, when the internet started going, people started buying and selling online, and then marketplaces were formed, and brick and mortar shops decided to diversify into omni-channel retailers. And there's some obviously pure players. And then of course COVID accelerated people's shift onto becoming comfortable with online purchasing. And then today we see online, in some retailers it's up to 20% of their sales is online, and 80% in store. And in other parts of the world that shift is even higher.
Bigger, way bigger. And just staying on that subject, where do you see the biggest opportunities now when looking at growth and innovation? Because I'm sure you have to predict the future in your space.
I think that what you have to always concentrate on is the customer, because these forces change. Transport changed, which changes things. I mean, even today, how many scooters do you see on the road today that you didn't see 5 years ago that are, you know, transporting, you know, on-demand goods and services from various retailers. But the customer has not changed. The customer still has needs and the customer still has wants. And those are quite different. You know, needs are basic, like your food and all those kind of things, and wants are aspirational things. And we're all aspirational in different ways and formats at different ages and different stages and different pockets of consumers. So I study that very, very closely, and those kinds of trends that filter around. You know, and media has changed retail. I mean, when I started my career, there was a handful of TV stations, and it wasn't that long ago. 25 years is not that long ago, but you know, we had SABC and we had MultiChoice, we had radio stations and outdoor, and the internet was in its infancy.
And now we have Rick Ross. Exactly.
And now we have how many people, you know, proclaiming themselves to be influencers, and how many platforms and how many podcasts and, you know, and how many things. There's such a spectrum. To try and follow the consumer has become so difficult to do. So that's very important to me that I follow that.
Let's talk about the difficulties, or the challenges rather, when it comes to, you know, transformation and inclusivity, as you had stated earlier. And when we're looking at just the stats of Pick n Pay, you know, women make up 70% of the workforce, and when looking at butchery managers, it's 30% being women. So can you just share the impact of this, and why has it been so intentional for this company?
I think, I mean, from almost the dawn of time, men and women, it's always been at least 50% of the adult population has been women. That's for a start, you know. And in the last few years, we have seen many households being woman-led in terms of income. Many households being woman-led and in terms of income, and also being single mom-headed households as well. And that's a trend not only in South Africa but in other parts of the world. You know, and we've seen women go into every single career imaginable. You know, I mean, I've seen petite women drive massive 18-wheeler trucks in retail, which I find remarkable. You know, run stores, run regions, you know, run omni-channels, in marketing, in supply chain, in operations, you know, buyers, merchants that are women. Every single pocket of retail has a lot of expert, dynamic women in it. And, you know, and Raymond Ackerman, our founder, I mean, he you know, built that business with his wife, Wendy, and they've always had an equal society and, you know, a non-racial society, which I'm really proud of as well at Pick n Pay.
Now, just briefly, because we don't have enough time, unfortunately, but just from your perspective, you know, looking forward, what are some of the initiatives and projects that are currently running right now to help empower SMEs and other businesses as well to reach out and to understand the consumer, as you have said?
So I mean, one thing that I'm really proud of is the work that we do at Pick n Pay with SMEs. We recently had a conference at head office where we invited our top SMEs and new SMEs to showcase their products and services, and our buyers were there doing deals right there and there, you know, on the floor with those SMEs, listing them in ASAP, listing them in our shops and empowering them and giving them awards. And some of them have grown into 100 million rand businesses in a short period of time, and it takes a village. It takes a village to grow an economy, to grow a country, and SMEs is how our economy grows, and I'm so proud of what the retail industry does in this country to grow SMEs.
Thank you so much for your time, Katherine, and we would love to have you back so that we can just chat more in terms of what to look out for in the future and how this ecosystem that you currently have got going on, how it can grow even bigger.
Thank you so much.
That was Katherine Madley, Chief Marketing Officer at Pick n Pay. Until next time, goodbye.